Hi there. Welcome back to Driftwood Ranch. I'm Randy, the host of The Literate Texan. Tonight, how to speak Booktube. Definitions of slang phrases and terminology that you'll hear booktubers using on Booktube that you may or may not be familiar with. Sorry about my hand there, folks. I just thought I'd get a more pleasing angle on this. Most of this is going to be kind of off the cuff, but when I first started out on Booktube, I didn't know what people were talking about. And some of the stuff I could sort of figure out, but even the stuff that I could figure out had shades of meaning amongst you people, or us people, now that I'm a member of the tribe, our little corner of Booktube, we call it. But this is aimed mostly at beginners. You're getting started on Booktube, you may not know what all these expressions mean. And so, I'm going to go through them one at a time. I've just made a little list here in my notebook because, believe it or not, I do prepare a little bit for these. And I'm sure that something's going to be interesting in terms of my definition about, what these terms mean. And if you watch long enough, you may even see me make a mistake and want to correct me down in the comments below and tell me, oh, Randy, that's not what that means at all. This is what it actually means. So the first phrase that I've got that I want to explain is buddy read. Because that was the first phrase I asked somebody about. What's a buddy read? Because I saw people talking about their buddy reads on Booktube and what they were doing with buddy reads. So one of the things about reading is that it's mostly a solitary hobby. And one of the solutions to that Booktube solves for us is it enables us to find company or companionship in our journey through these books. And a buddy read is just an event with two people. Or it might be three people, but usually it's just two. It's usually a small number of people who are reading the same book at the same time. Usually you have at least some modicum of a schedule, and you're discussing the book as you go along. And a lot of times, you might make a video at the end of the event where the two of you discuss what you thought of the book. I've done most of my buddy reads with Brandy over at the Book Collectic, but I've done buddy reads with Sean Standfast before, and I've got a buddy read coming up with books I'm not reading. Kelly C. In fact, I've got the book that we're buddy reading right here. I'm really excited about it. It's called The Weird Sisters. And it's a novel about these three women. They're the daughters of a Shakespeare professor, which makes it appropriate that they're the Weird Sisters because that's also the name of the sisters in Macbeth, the three witches. But that's what a buddy read is. It's just that simple. And if you want to have a buddy read with somebody, usually you just contact them via Voxer, which is the instant messaging app of choice among booktubers in this neck of the woods, and ask them if they want to do it. A lot of times people have busy schedules, but a buddy read is kind of like some of your other reading events, but on a smaller scale, okay? So reading events are that's one kind of a reading event. Another kind of reading event is what you would call an event. An example of a reading event might be June on the Range. And usually you'll have a host for such a thing. For example, June on the Range is a reading event where we read Westerns, and that is hosted by, that's hosted by Michael K. Vaughan, or is it hosted by Criminale? I don't know. They're both pretty involved in June on the Range. I can't remember which one hosts it right now. I know, but I can't remember right now. I've got a little bit of chemo brain still, so sometimes I get things wrong, but I know it's one of the two. I'm going to credit both of them in the description below. But June on the Range is definitely one of those big reading events that a lot of people participate in. And so that's separate from a buddy read, because there might be 20 or 30 people doing June on the Range, and we're all doing separate books, and we have different prompts for the kinds of books that we're reading and so forth. But yeah, that's an example of a big reading event. Another type of reading event that you'll see besides buddy reads and events are book clubs. And a book club usually has a schedule and it's hosted by a person, but it has a specific book that you read. Typically, a book club will involve reading one book per month. That's the usual schedule, although I have seen more aggressive book clubs than this. That fella Ian over at Right Conscious has a very aggressive book club schedule. But, sometimes you're expected to, or hopefully you'll donate some money towards the book club, because the host of the book club will put a lot of work into curating the list of books, maybe putting together some explanatory lectures about the books. Not always. Sometimes they're just free-flowing discussions. At any rate, it's a good way to get motivated to read books that maybe you wouldn't otherwise read. But yeah, and then of course there are reading challenges or reading projects, and usually those are one-person events. That's something that you're doing. Like one of the reading challenges that I've seen Criminale do is he's trying to read all 84 books by Stephen King. So there's an example of a reading project or a reading challenge. So those are basically the main types of reading events, and a buddy read is just one of those types of reading events. So the next phrase on my list is book haul. What's a book haul? Okay, and so you can't really talk about a book haul without also talking about a book unhaul. And a book haul is just a video where you show off a bunch of books that you got recently. You know, let's say you went to the bookstore and you did some shopping at the bookstore and you got 10 books and you want to show them off. So you'd show them off at a book haul. The other day, I had a book unhaul video, and that's where you show off a bunch of books that you're eliminating from your library. You're either giving them away or you're selling them or you're trading them with somebody. And so, you know, you're more likely to see a book haul than a book unhaul. People seem to be more excited about acquiring things than they do about letting them go. My book unhaul video from the other day is interesting because it's a list of books that I tried to unhaul, but the place I tried to sell them to wasn't interested in buying them. So that's kind of interesting, and you can find that on my channel if you look back a few days, the book unhaul video. And then the next thing on my list is TBR. TBR stands for to be read. So a lot of my friends here are mood readers. They just pick up and read whatever occurs to them. But then there are also people here who are planners. And they'll make a list of the books that they want to read. That's their to be read pile. These are books that they're planning to read. And usually they have a time limit associated with it. People will make an annual TBR. These are the books that they're going to read this year. They'll make a monthly TBR. These are the books that they're going to read each month. Kelly over at Books I'm Not Reading said she used to do quarterly TBRs. So she was doing a TBR for a 3-month period for a quarter. And she said that worked really well for her. Most of the people I know on Booktube have TBRs that are month-long TBRs. And generally speaking, I'm one of those people who makes a TBR in hopes of planning something. But a lot of times I don't completely read all the books on my TBR. I don't think I'm particularly uncommon in that respect. Okay, so TBR, and then Book Trek is on my list. Okay, so Book Trek, obviously, or maybe not obviously, Book Trek is one of those events I was talking about, one of those big reading events. And this summer, it lasts all summer, June, July, and August. And the only real prompt for Book Trek is that you read Star Trek books. And if you read one Star Trek book throughout those 3 months, then you could say that you participated in Book Trek. Helps if you make a video about the Star Trek book that you read. Some people are really addicted to Book Trek. They love it. Brandy over at the Book Collectic, when Book Trek rolls around, she's not reading anything else. I think she may be hibernating and saving up some of her energy so that she can read more books during Book Trek than at other times of the year. So if you're not into Star Trek, you might want to give it a try. You might not. It's up to you. But that's what Book Trek is. You'll see it talked about a little bit on here. I didn't list the specific names of a lot of events because there's too many of them to list, but there are a few that I'm specifically interested in, and Book Trek is one of the ones where I'm co-hosting. So I wanted to make sure that I got it on here. So the next one, let's see, Tag and Tag Tuesday. A tag is a video where you answer a bunch of questions, and they can be about books or they can be about your lifestyle or about you personally. Most people post their tag videos on Tuesday. Hence the name Tag Tuesday. And the idea is that you answer the prompts. They're organized around a theme. Like the tag video that I posted yesterday for Tag Tuesday was called How Proust Can Change Your Reading. And it was a list of 10 questions about how Proust can change your reading. And it's a more interesting tab than it sounds like. But at the end of each of these tag videos, you're supposed to tag a few booktubers that you'd like to hear answer those questions. And I'm real lucky. People seem to like me okay around here. And so I get tagged in a lot of these. Unfortunately, I get tagged in so many of them that I don't always get around to making the tag videos. So that's what a tag is, and that's what Tag Tuesday is. There's also an event. It's not really an event, but there's a day of the week, Poetry Thursday. Poetry Thursday is simple. We celebrate poems on Thursday. A lot of people will just read a poem as a video. Some people will read a poem and explain it. Some people will talk about a poetry type subject, like how to read a sonnet or how sonnets are written or interpreted. So you've got that to look forward to in a couple of days or tomorrow. This is a Wednesday video, so Poetry Thursday will be tomorrow. What is a read along as opposed to a read aloud? A read along is an event where someone's reading a book and they're discussing it at certain points and making videos at those points. Like you might have a chapter by chapter read along of The Lord of the Rings, led by Steve Donahue, for example. And he'll come on every day and he will talk about what happened in the chapter that he read that day. And you can comment on it and discuss it with him in the comments field. A read aloud, on the other hand, as opposed to a read along, is one where the host actually reads the chapter or the book out loud on the video. And, I'm not an expert on such things, but I might caution you that if you're doing a read aloud, you might double check the copyright status of the work. If the work is already or is still under copyright somewhere and belongs to someone else, then, it's probably the better part of valor not to read it out loud in a video on YouTube because you don't have the rights to it. So, read along, read aloud. Okay, so a starting kit. You'll hear this phrase occasionally. A starting kit is a list of books, usually it's a top 10 list, around a certain subject for someone who hasn't read about this subject before and wants to get to know it. For example, a King Arthur starter kit might include The Mists of Avalon as one of the books, and it might include Steinbeck's book, The Noble Acts of King Arthur and His Knights, along with The Once and Future King by T.H. White. And, there might be 7 more books on there. And this is just one person's opinion about how to get started with a certain genre or subject of book. It's called a starter kit. Steve Donahue's made a lot of starter kits during his career on Booktube, but he's certainly not the only booktuber to make starter kits. So usually you can type in starter kit Booktube on YouTube and find a whole bunch of starter kits. So it can be a fun way to get into different subjects. Q&A. Obviously, Q&A stands for questions and answers. Usually on Booktube, it means that you've hit some kind of milestone with your channel, and to celebrate, you're going to answer questions from the audience. And usually you make an announcement video. Hey, I'm doing a question and answer video, and leave your questions in the comments field. I'll make a video where I answer all of these because I'm celebrating getting to 700 subscribers. My friend Mark at Book Time with Elvis has got a Q&A video coming up this Friday, and he will have a surprise guest. I'm not going to mention any names of who the surprise guest is, but his initials are Randy Ray. So be sure to tune in for that because I hear he's a pretty funny guy. Monetize. Okay, so if you're a booktuber and you want to make money from your channel, it's called monetizing. And generally, it means running advertising. If you have a Booktube channel and you've got enough traffic, you can turn on advertising. YouTube will show ads on your channel. You can control when those ads show. And if somebody clicks on those ads, you get a certain amount of money back from YouTube about it. They take a percentage of it because they're the ones who sold the ad and they're hosting your video, but you get a percentage of it too. But when someone talks about monetizing their channel, usually that's what they're talking about. There are other ways to monetize a channel too, but this is just meant to be a starter guide to what these words mean, okay? So a reading slump. A reading slump is when you get tired of reading, you get bored. It's comparable to writer's block. I tend to sort of agree with Steve Donahue that there's not really such a thing as a reading slump. You're either going to sit down and read or you're not. If you've got other things that you want to do besides reading, more power to you, baby. Go do it. But if you find you're getting bored and you're having a hard time following books, you're probably reading the wrong books. There may be something else going on in your life that's distracting you. If that's the case, go take care of whatever it is that's distracting you and get back to reading when it feels more appropriate. I have a lot more to say about reading slumps in my video. It's called How to Motivate Yourself to Read. You can type that into the Google search bar or the YouTube search bar, How to Motivate Yourself to Read, and then put my name in there, Randy Ray. And like magic, my video will appear, and you can listen to me wax eloquently about the subject for a good 20 minutes, or maybe 15 minutes. I don't remember how long that video is. So a wrap-up. A wrap-up video, that's basically a video that some people make at the end of the week, or at the end of the month, or at the end of the year, where they talk about what books they read that week, that month, or that year. That's all it is. It's a wrap-up video. It's a very popular kind of video. Some people limit themselves to just doing a monthly wrap-up. Some people do a weekly wrap-up. Those are people who tend to read a lot per week. Almost everybody does an annual wrap-up because those are always really interesting. And, they're easy enough to find. Once you've watched one, you'll know what a wrap-up is. But now you know what one is anyway. Clickbait. This is aimed at people who are making videos too. If you're watching, you're probably not too concerned about clickbait. Clickbait is when you have a title that might or might not be accurate, but it's designed to trigger an emotion that's going to make you click on that particular video. So, sometimes, let's say, for example, you type in, how Booktube ruined reading for me. That's clickbait. Nobody ruined reading for you, especially not Booktube. And usually, once you watch the video, they'll say, hey, you know what? That title's not entirely accurate. Nobody ruined reading for me. But I do have some complaints about Booktube or whatever. So usually they're just overstating the case, trying to get you to click on their video. Because the more people watch your video and the longer they watch your video, the more money you make if you monetize. That's the whole purpose of clickbait. What's a thumbnail? When you're looking at a list of people's Booktube videos, there's an image that you see that's a static image that you click on to open up the video. That image is called the thumbnail. Thumbnails are important to Booktubers because different thumbnails get different click-through rates. Most people want to have a higher click-through rate than a lower click-through rate, and the thumbnail is one of the only tools that you have to encourage people to click on a video. And there's all kinds of opinions and ideas about how to make thumbnails that get higher click-through rates, and you can learn about those elsewhere. I just want you to know what a thumbnail is for now. What's a title? The title tag is the title of your video. What's it about? This video, the title is How to Speak Booktube. Okay, that's it. That's the title. Now, there's a subtitle that goes along with that, and I don't remember exactly what it is, but it'll be showing on the page with the thumbnail in the text below the thumbnail, so you'll know what you're clicking on. The title is important because, again, it tells you what you're clicking on so that you can click on a video that you want to watch. If you've got a title and a thumbnail that misrepresents what your video's about, people aren't going to watch it for very long. So that's going to be counterproductive. So the best thing for you to do is write an accurate descriptive title and have a thumbnail that's interesting, but also tells you what to expect from the video. Then make a video that meets or exceeds those expectations that you set with the viewer for yourself. The description tag, usually that includes names of other booktubers that you've mentioned. It describes the video in a little more detail. It might include hashtags, which I'm going to explain in just a minute. It would include the prompts for a tag video, for example. Yeah, the description is where you get to put some text in the video. And the crawler, the search engine for YouTube, reads that text to decide which videos to display when someone types in a search term. Finally, the last term on here that I want to define for How to Speak Booktube is a hashtag. What's a hashtag? Well, you can categorize videos according to hashtags. It's a type of taxonomy. Think of the Dewey Decimal System, but made up of words and being more intuitive. And so when you make a video, you would include hashtags with it. For example, if I were to review Billy Summers by Stephen King, one of my hashtags might be hashtag Billy Summers. Another one might be hashtag Stephen King. Another one might be hashtag book review. And then those are clickable. So when you read somebody's description of Stephen King's Billy Summers, for example, they click on Stephen King, they're going to get a list of videos that also have the hashtag Stephen King in the description somewhere. So, use the hashtags as best you can. It doesn't hurt. It's just going to drive more traffic to your videos. So that's it. That's the list of terms that I wanted to explain for How to Speak Booktube. If I left anything out, please mention it in the comments below. If I misunderstood what a term means and you need to correct my definition, feel free. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Just leave it in the comments below. I've got to be back soon with more videos, so check that out. I've got 200 and something videos on this channel, so please browse through those, see if there's something you're interested in. If you're interested in this video, you're probably going to be interested in some of the other videos that I've posted. I'm about like this in all of them. And thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I appreciate you more than you know. I just want to leave you with a couple of parting thoughts, pieces of advice, requests, and those are, stay sexy, folks, and stay hydrated.